Ni hao and greetings to you, good boys and girls in the EDC family. Well, and today let's say greetings to the not so good boys and girls. I think you'll find out why in just a moment. But thanks for joining us for another knife video at KarryorBury. I'm your host, Profit. With me as always is the professor. And I'm pretty sure Cousin Chaos are kicking around here somewhere. And of course, they, as always, send their love and their barks and their drool, all that good stuff to you. We have another exciting knife to show you today at KarryorBury. But before we introduce today's EDC item, let's kind of go over our quick disclosure. And who better to help with our disclosure than KarryorBury's friend of the channel, Herc, over at Herc Knives. Herc is going to read the disclosure to you. You won't see his hands right now, but he's definitely going to read the disclosure to you. Go ahead, Herc.
Yeah, quick disclosure about our knife today. All other knives and items we have or had or even will have on our channel to this date, we do not have any sponsorship. Sad face. This knife was purchased by us that we're going to review today. It was tested, used by us in the real world, as we like to do at KarryorBury. We like to use our knives. That's what they're here for. So we like to use them. Is this knife right for you? We don't know. Is it even legal to own or carry where you are? We're also not the most knowledgeable in that. Well, EDC family, remember, we are YouTubers, not lawyers. You should never get any legal advice from anyone that is not a professional. But seriously, please know about your local knife and gun laws. Are you sure how to do that? Maybe not. I don't know. Well, it doesn't hurt to visit, and if at all possible, support akti.org. They are the American Knife and Tool Institute, and they are on the front lines helping us keep our freedoms and our rights.
Awesome. Herc, I couldn't have said that any better, man. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Anytime.
I love having you on the compound, and I know the EDC family likes getting to know you even more. And remember, folks, you can reach out to Herc at hercknives@gmail.com.
That is correct.
You can talk about making your own knife with him as he continues his wonderful, fantastical journey to become one of the top knife makers in the Snow State. Now, you may have noticed that I butchered a Chinese greeting today. Herc, I'm sure you noticed.
I may have noticed that, yeah.
So without further ado, let's show you why we wanted to make sure not just our good boys and girls, but even our bad boys and girls.
Would you say maybe even a brat?
Maybe. What? Oh. Herc is right. Even a brat is welcome at KarryorBury compound today because we are reviewing the KIZER Vanguard, designed by Azo Mai, again, one of his wonderful designs, and made by KIZER. We're going to give it a quick wipe with our KarryorBury cloth here, and we're going to give you your first look at the KIZER Azo Brat. Now, although this is a 154 cm knife, it is very well heat treated. In fact, I have stropped and sharpened this knife. It's very, very nice to use. It actually holds a pretty decent edge. If you would like anything more than to find out about 154 cm or other metals in your knives, please feel free to visit knifesteelnerds.com. They're also here on YouTube. There you're going to find a gentleman named Dr. Steele, or Dr. Laren Thomas, and he is the author of Knife Engineering and is the maker of MagnaCut. Check him out in the description. He doesn't know anything about our little channel, but we respect him just about as hard steel as you can respect anybody. Isn't that right, Herc?
Absolutely, yeah. He's the man when it comes to knife steels, so definitely check that out.
Now, Herc, I'm not sure if the EDC family is noticing, but I don't see any backspacers in this knife, do you?
No, that's definitely a unique feature of this knife. Yeah, the integral backspacer, yeah.
And integral, what does that mean, Herc?
Integral means one piece, means it's all combined into one, so you have your scale on one side, backspacer, and your other scale.
Herc, I don't mean to cut you off, but are you being a brat? Because let me tell you something. How would they machine out of one piece of, this doesn't appear to be metal, it appears to be G10. Is that correct?
It does, yeah, it is G10.
Unbelievable. We'll get into that a little bit more in a second. But before we kind of go diving into the KIZER BRAT EDC family, as always at KarryorBury, I think it's time for our slogan. Justin, do you know the slogan here?
Absolutely, I do. Show me the flipper.
Oh, and I feel it. I feel it, my brothers and sisters of the EDC congregation. Today, we are going to show you Prophet's pocket check. What did Prophet have in his pocket today? Can I get an amen?
Amen.
EDC family, this here is my trusty, my ever so useful Spyderco Paramilitary 2, also lovingly named the PM2. This particular one, I believe, is a limited edition because it has very thick and heavy copper from the word himself. Copper from the ground, EDC family. Can I get an amen?
Amen. I said, bless it.
And we are also blessed, EDC family, with this CPM powdered metallurgy steel made in Rex 45, EDC family. We've got the Spyderco compression lock pulling this beauty together. So EDC family, we carried the PM2 today in copper, but you know, you didn't see the color tie that I wore today at my meetings. It was also copper color. So I'm like, what better to keep the copper going? So I decided that my torch today would be also a super heavy object. And I decided to grab my Olight M2R Warrior Special Edition, also wearing copper from the ground. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Well, so I went pretty coppery today. I was going to have a copper pocket piece, but instead I grabbed an Enox pocket piece. Ooh. A little spinny top here. This was kind of my little go-to guy today, as you can see. My little fidgety little guy. And it's not copper per se, but it is gold Enox. And this is from foreverspin.com. But before you order anything from foreverspin.com, I want you to watch our next video. I think that's going to bring some light or some spin into your next fidgety purchase. Okay, so don't buy anything just yet, just letting you know where that's from. Now, also I had a coin today for luck, and I had my 1921 piece of dollar. And this has got Lady Liberty on the front. This did replace the Morgan dollar in 1921 with a high relief version. That they didn't really have the technology to do well, so they went back to the regular relief on the 22s and beyond. We're going to get these out of the way, and I am going to be super happy. Oh, that's a loud coin noise. I'm going to be super happy for our wonderful friend of the channel, Herc, to get his hands in the video here and show you. Show me the flipper, Herc. What did you have on you today, buddy?
Yeah, absolutely. So first things first, the knife. This is my Hermet. Obviously, this is the one I've shown multiple times on the channel here. This is from your very own Profit. I love this knife. Probably one of the only premium knives that I own. Just love how it holds an edge. You just feel the quality when you're using it. 390 steel. That's definitely a premium steel. Love this knife. Carry that as often as I can. Same as always, still carrying my Olight Arkfeld Ultra. Love this thing with their proprietary aluminum on there. Doesn't show any signs of wear. I've probably worn this, except for the clip. I catch those things on everything. But besides the clip, this thing holds its sheen, its finish, everything really, really well. Love that thing. And then I also carried today as a pocket piece, I carried my Forever Spin titanium spinner as well, top. I did not have the same experiences, but we'll get into that in the next video, like Prophet said, as he had with my titanium top. But thought I'd try something a little bit different for a pocket piece. That's what I had today.
Now, Herc, do you also own a KIZER BRAT?
I do also own a KIZER BRAT.
Why don't you grab that if you have a chance and show
absolutely.
the EDC family. We got twin Brats.
Yeah.
We also have twin Remets here at the compound right now, but ours is somewhere in this box.
Yeah. So
we've got not one, but two Brats.
Absolutely. I saw this. I came over and saw Profits, and I said, I got to have one of those things. We'll talk about the needs and the nails a little bit later, but yeah, I definitely bought one of those after seeing Profits.
Well, we're going to go ahead and put your brat down for a moment. We might need it for a comparison, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let's take a peek here and get you rocking and rolling. And, all right, I'm going to go ahead and grab your pocket pieces, my brother, get them out of the way for the EDC family. And let's dive into finish our greeting, right? Our normal greeting. Yeah. Because what's a greeting and an introduction when you can't really talk about the name of the knife, which we like to do at KarryorBury, as you know.
Absolutely.
Now, EDC family, the knife is named the Brat. I think some people think it's called the Brat, but I did some extensive research using ChatGTP, which, let's be honest, I don't know if it's real or not. But we're going to go with that because they seem to be able to do more digging on the internet than me. Now, we're going to say this right now. The knife does combine a lot of innovative, sleek design with practical functionality. It is, again, like I said, an Azomai design, whom even his daughter now is getting into designing knives. I think is really cool. We'll save a little bit of that for down the road. But now, according to KIZER, and this is not according to us here at KarryorBury, but according to KIZER, okay, the Brat is referring to the design by KIZER Azo that emphasizes simplicity and boldness in its aesthetics, but primarily, here's what they say about the knife. Essentially, what they're saying is that what Brat means to them, okay, and this is, again, on them, it refers to essentially a no-frills knife with a strong, reliable design, much like how the term brat can sometimes describe a straightforward, no-nonsense person. According to KIZER, they think that the term brat is describing a straightforward, no-nonsense person. We're going to save that, and we're going to go right into our first of 3 segments before our KarryorBury game begin, EDC family. Knowledge is king. So, if our wonderful professor will please put the Knowledge is King icon up on the screen somewhere for you here, we'll get started right away. Okay, as you all know, we have 3 icons that will show up after our greeting and knife naming before the game starts. We call the first one Knowledge is King, and we like to give you some trivia or some knowledge on the knife, the maker, the name. The last time we had a KIZER knife on the table, we talked about Azomai, so I thought it'd be a better time to talk about something a little different, right? Not KIZER or their commitment to quality or who Vanguard is. We're actually going to talk about how sometimes when we're from different places in this world, names can mean different things. For instance, we just learned what brat means to the people in China and over at KIZER, and it's completely wrong. So if somebody from China calls you a brat, they actually are probably thinking you're a no-nonsense person. So don't get upset, my European and American brothers and sisters, because as we know what brat means, it's typically considered to be a behavior rather than an inherent trait, right? That's basically tied to growing up into an adult. It's, I don't know, Herc, does this make more sense? I believe it's more of a colloquial term that's used to describe someone, often a child or a young person, or a young adult, who is displaying rude, disrespectful, or a demanding behavior. Does that sound more what brat means to you?
Yeah, I think there's different, obviously, ways that we interpret words around the world. Obviously, after hearing, and I didn't know that in China they consider a brat a no-nonsense, straightforward person. There's definitely different connotations that you can take with it. They obviously have more of a positive connotation to the word brat than we do. So after hearing what the Chinese kind of definition of brat is, I would definitely agree that this knife kind of fits that mold.
I do want to do a quick disclaimer on this though, Herc, if I may, and this might make more sense to you here. If you are a Chinese speaking person and you can speak Mandarin or another dialect and we're completely wrong and we're misinterpreting what ChatGTP says what they think about it, I'd love to hear it. Mm-hmm. It kind of makes sense though, because this is a straightforward, no-nonsense knife. It's a simple yet very durable and usable knife to them. I digress. So for Knowledge is King, folks, remember, if somebody says ni hao brat, it may not mean what you interpret it to mean. Okay? Yeah. So greet them back. Just say, okay, friend. Now, we could be wrong even more, and brat could mean brat, and this could be them talking about a sausage. I hope that's not the case, but I digress as always. We hope you learned something with the Knowledge is King section of our program today. Do you remember which one's which?
I do not, but I don't know if it matters.
Probably not. Here's what we'll say, EDC family. It's time to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
To the Knowledge is King section. And it's time for our dorky editor, your wonderful, lovable professor here at the compound, to do his segment. So say hello to the professor's particulars.
Hello, Professor.
Hello.
Welcome to your particulars.
Welcome, Professor. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Now, let's get into the specs of the KIZER Brat. We're going to just keep calling it Brat, right, Herc?
I like brat more than brat. I mean, brats make me hungry, so.
They sure do. So we have an overall length of 7.95 inches with a blade length of 3.5 inches. A blade thickness is going to be about 110 thousandths of an inch. The blade material we talked about is a very well heat-treated 154 cm. As you can see, EDC family, we have a very, very normal drop point type stonewash blade here. There is a few marks on the blade. You have KIZER's logo here, and then the 154 cm knife logo. We've got some jimping that goes very aggressively halfway up the spine of the knife. And again, we talked about the handle material, didn't we, Herc?
We did, yep.
G10, honestly, it really truly is. And you wouldn't know it by holding it. It does not have the give I thought it'd have. We'd talk about that later. We have an integral handle. So the only hardware we have is located right under the pivot. We do have a captured pivot with a button lock style opening. And if you haven't noticed, the blade does have a flipper. As you can see, we have the black color on this one. I think they come in a couple other colors. The weight is 105 grams. If that's not useful enough for you folks, it's about 3.7 ounces total weight on this knife. It is a right hand knife, and only right hand when it comes to the pocket clip. We do have a tip up clip, right? Really nice, aggressive, deep carry. You're gonna see about this much of the knife showing out of your pocket. Okay. Again, the maker is KIZER, the designer is Azomai, country of origin is China, the model is the Brat. It is obviously an everyday carry knife. Now, the MSRP on the Brat's right around $100. However, you're often going to find it between $80 and $90 on sale at your favorite retailer. Ours was purchased on, I believe, Blade HQ, and I believe it was $90 or $89 when we bought it. Now, Herc, where'd you buy your Brat?
I got mine at Blade HQ as well. That's where I get most of my knives. So,
but if I remember right, you got a little bit better price.
I always do. I got to visit that sale page on Blade HQ. That's where I find most of mine.
Now, Blade HQ doesn't do anything for us, folks. It's one of many places you can get your pocket knives and other EDC accessories, but we do shop there, obviously. So let's talk about saying goodbye to the Professor's Particulars section here.
Bye-bye.
And let's say hello to our final segment before the game starts, the comparison segment. Ooh. Obviously, we've got confusingly two Brats here all of a sudden, and I honestly don't know whose is whose. And I think we'll easily be able to figure it out by whose has been carried. I believe this is Herc's, because I've never carried my Brat, and I can see that his pocket clip is very worn from being carried. So we're going to put Herc's up top here and let it chill, and we'll take our channels that's really only been used once or twice. There's our Brat, or Brat, if you will. Gosh, I'm hungry now.
Ah, why do you keep saying that?
Let's take a look at our Brat next to a BRS Evolve Eon, which is another integral frame lock. But instead of being an integral G10 frame lock, it is made of titanium. So you are going to see these two knives are very close to size. Honestly, thickness, again, is very close. Blade thickness, I think the Brat's going to be a little bit thinner. You are going to have a much different blade steel on the Evolve here. This is going to be, I believe it's M390. If I'm mistaken, forgive me, we'll find out soon. But we have a different locking mechanism on both, and you can kind of see how they've done it. But size-wise, if you are into integral frame locks and you happen to own a BRS Evolve, you'll know the Brat is very close to the size, just a different material. Now, Here is the Brat against the Ontario Knife Company Rat 1. The Rat 1 is going to be a lot longer of a knife, although very similar in your cutting edge here. You're not going to get much difference out of the two. But prices is going to be much lower on the Ontario Rat model. Thickness is going to be very close to the same since this is a liner lock style knife here on the Rat. And opening, you're going to, instead of having the normal Teflon or bronze washers, you're going to have a system of ceramic ball bearings. Fuck off. Ceramic bowls. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
All right. Now, the 8015 is another large style knife, and again, it is going to be bigger than the Brat. It's also going to be a little thicker than the Brat, and it's going to have thicker blade stock, and it's going to be much heavier. So if you do own some bigger knives like the Cold Steel 8015, which we'll be doing a review on here next week, you'll notice that the Brat is smaller and lighter. I also have an Olight knife, a button lock knife. It is not going to be integral, but if any of you owned the Olight metal, this is what, not the version 2 of the metal, which for some reason is much smaller, oddly enough. I find that a little odd. Herc, do you have a metal 2 on you, actually?
I do.
You know, I know this isn't the video we're doing, but if you're going to have a metal 1 and then a metal 2nd gen, you could just call it the little metal or something, right?
You could probably come up with a different name, yeah, because there's not a whole lot in common between those.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't even look close. I mean, even the pivot's different, dude. Like, everything is different. It's super weird. So, Olight, not quite sure where we were going with this, but, I mean, quit meddling with things and name your knives better. Now, lastly, but not leastly, some of you may not own some of these, so let's look at my Spyderco PM2 against the Brat. As you can see, the Spyderco PM2 is going to be a little bit longer, and you're actually going to get about the same amount of blade cutting availability, and the Spyder PM2 is going to be a little bit on the thick side as well. So they're going to be very close to size on both of these, close to the amount of blade. Obviously, a Spyderco PM2 or paramilitary 2 is going to cost you a little bit more, have a different locking mechanism, and so forth. EDC family, let's now take time to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
To the comparison side. Justin, or Herc, forgive me. Herc, did you learn enough about the comparison sizes on these guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Love the comparison
Herc
segment.
on top. There you go. Herc, do you know what time it is?
I believe it's time to play the game.
I think you're right. I think it's time to play the carryorbury game.
Woohoo!
Can I get an amen?
Amen!
Folks, when we're playing the carryorbury game, this is the full review. We've used these knives like we said earlier. We're giving you our opinions on these. We go with 4 positives and 4 negatives. Then we have a tiebreaker. We call our positives needs. We call our negatives nails. Without further ado, let's get into the carryorbury game, and let's start with the positives or the needs. Number 1, and Herc, if you have anything to say about any of this, just let me know. I think the first need, Professor, cue that first need. Yeah, we're going to go with the versatile design. Like Mr. Myazo or Azomai thinks, the Brat is, nice at conforming, straightforward tool, not the naughty little stinker that we know. And it is. It's straightforward. It's easy to use. It does have the ability to, if you can kind of get into the grip here, you can almost reverse flick this guy. Not really, but if you dig into that a little bit, that spine, you might be able to. But you still have a flipper, right? And you still have a button lock opening, right? You have an integral pocket knife. It's reliable, it's versatile, and I love it.
Yeah, I think I'm a sucker for a good flipper. It's reliable, as obviously versatile design. You talked about the reliability. Not super versatile in how you can open it. You got kind of 2 methods, the button or the flipper, but it's just such a good design. I love the design as well. And the jimping halfway up the blade there, I'm also a sucker for good jimping. So.
And the versatility, the task-wise, you can do a lot of different tasks
Absolutely.
with a good clip point knife with a nice full belly. Which, let's talk about the second need, right? Professor, give us need number 2, baby.
Have it.
Smooth action. Would you agree that we have a smooth action with a good lockup on this?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very reliable. I don't know if I've ever had one. There's the D10's just teetering on too low, but that flipper, you barely have to touch it and that thing opens up, and it opens up reliably every time. I don't know how they did it, but it's amazing.
Well, and even with a really light detent like it does have, and I agree with that, you're not going to see the blade come out.
Nope.
The lockup on it's really nice in both positions, I would believe.
Absolutely. No, that's why I said it's right on that edge. You don't feel like it's ever going to come out, but you barely have to touch that flipper and it's deployed.
So let's talk about the third need. Show it to us, Professor.
Let me have that third need.
Boom. We're going to go with comfortable G10 handle and sturdy G10 handle, right?
Yeah.
It's almost unbelievable. When you hear an integral one-piece of G10, you're not thinking you're going to get a super sturdy feel. But my goodness, this thing feels great. It's sturdy. You can put it in a great use position. It's very comfortable for me. How about you?
Absolutely, yeah. I think the texturing they put on the knife, as well as the texturing they put on that integral backspacer, it was very well thought of. You can definitely tell that somebody put some thought into that design. There's not a ton of texture on the side of the blade, but it almost looks like wood. And we're going to try and get some good shots of it, but just the G10, I don't know how they made it look like wood. I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, is that wood, Profit?
It's very
like,
interesting,
no.
But even the back with the nice, really aggressive, smooth jimping, really, even it's not as slick as you think it would be. In fact, I actually really like the way it feels.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. I already mentioned the jimping on the blade itself. I feel like it's a very well thought out handle and knife. Very
Agreed.
Comfortable and thought out.
Well, I think it's time for us to show the fourth and final need. How about you, Herc?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to it.
Well, I believe price is where I went with this. Would you agree?
I would agree 100%. And if you know, a lot of my knives are under $100 and I had to find it on sale, but you can find this on sale. And I think mine was closer to 70, 75, I think, when I found mine. So you can find it cheaper, but yeah, this is a steal at that price.
And I agree. I think they did a very good job on the 154 CM on this knife. I think it's got an excellent look. The stonewash finish, the extra tooling on the jimping and the spine of the knife really helps its usability. We talked about that. But honestly, it's just, for sub $100 for an integral, well-machined EDC knife that is going to be very versatile, I couldn't see a better need. Could you?
No. I think they definitely went with the no frills. I mean, the stonewash blade, it's a no frills kind of finish. You don't have to worry about scratching as much as you would with like a polished finish. The G10, it's very durable. It's very no frills, but it's very utilitarian at the same time, where you can do just about anything you want with it.
Now, I think it's time that we talk a little bit about the nails, as in nails in the coffin. And folks, what that means is we will bury this on our property if we don't recommend it in this tiny little coffins that we have too many of. Okay, number one, button lock sensitivity. Herc mentioned this a little bit. The button lock sensitivity on these guys is a little light. Sometimes you want to know when you're engaging your knife to open, and this can be an issue for some users, especially a lot of guys with bigger hands, which this might be, really aggressive for. It's just one of those things that you're going to notice that it's a very, very light detented button lock.
Yeah, and like I said, it's right on that line. For me, I like it, but I could definitely see how some people might not appreciate how light and how sensitive that button lock is. Yep.
All right, we're going to go into the next one. Now, we're calling it weight considerations. That's kind of too picky. I'm going to say it's more of the way that this knife carries. It's not the biggest knife we have. Like I said, we have Spyderco PM2s. It's something about the straightness of it when you put it in your pocket with the very large oversized flipper. So it's going to be a bit heavy and a bit large and a bit obtrusive in the pocket for some people. As Nick Shabazz would say, it's got a heck of a pocket pecker. There we go.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I'm being a larger gentleman myself. I don't notice some of these things as much. In my pocket, it feels great, but I could absolutely see how somebody who may not have the extra room that I have, that could definitely be intrusive and cause some issues.
Well, and I think it was really funny when we were talking about the versatility. I had to remind the folks we were talking about the versatility of the knife and its uses, because you said, hey, guess what, Profit? You can't really, there's not a ton of ways you can open it. You got a flipper and you got a button lock. You know, whatever happened to popping a fuller on the blade? Limited one-hand operations, and maybe limited flipping options, right? I would have liked to see more options, maybe a thumb stud, maybe a fuller, maybe a tiny hole, something where you could grip on and kind of have a little bit more fun. Whenever I buy a button lock knife, I'm usually buying it for the different ways it can be opened. Yep. How about you?
Yeah, no, I think multiple deployment options are big things for some people. They like to have the thumb disc or the thumb stud or the fuller or the thumb hole, but there's a lot of different things that they could have done. I think some of it was limited by the design. If you notice when it's closed, the blade really tucks in there, hence the reason why that thumb, or not that thumb, the flipper sticks out so far. There's not a whole lot of room for them to put anything on that blade. There's really not much for you to grab at. So I think some of it was limited by the design, but it does kind of inhibit how many different ways that you can open it. There's limited things that you can do one-handed, yep.
All right. Professor, do we have a fourth nail? That was a loud one, huh, Herc?
Yeah, it was.
So with any button lock, especially on an integral, potential loosening over time. And what I mean by that is the button locks have a spring in them. That spring, after multiple uses, will, well, it'll even kind of get a little bit more restrained, right? So it's not going to be pushing the lock out as much, and especially on an integral knife where you don't have a lot of other hardware, what can happen is if you mix this with loosening of your pivot over time, or the one locking screw that you have the lock bar inserted at, you actually can get some blade play on these. This one does not have it right now. Let's check Herc's. Herc's also does not have it. However, it's a potential, and it's something you really need to be aware of when you are owning a button lock knife, but a heavier bladed button lock knife with a integral handle that has very limited hardware. So just something to really watch out for. Watch out for that. Now, I guess it's the drum roll time, right? We've got through 4 knees. We've gotten through 4 nails. So what do you think the tiebreaker is, man?
It's got to be my favorite part about this knife.
And what is that?
The fidget factor.
Even though we just said a little bit ago that it could use more ways to open.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
I love it.
I know it sounds weird, folks, but even though it has limited one-hand operations, the knife actually has this feel for it that you just want to play with it. If for a larger knife, it could use more ways of opening. Yeah, absolutely. But man, is it fun to play with this little guy?
Yeah.
Or big guy, right?
This little brat.
This little naughty thing.
No, I absolutely agree. This is honestly, I think, so when Profit and I met, it was one of the first times I came over. He's like, I want to show you my knife collection. And let me be honest with you, Profit's knife collection is vast, for lack of a better term. And one of the ones that stuck out to me was this exact knife, the KIZER BRAT. Somebody that's been around pocket knives in the EDC world for a long time, or somebody that's new to it like I was. It's one of the knives that stuck out to me. That's why I own one, because Profit showed it to me and he was like, this is a cool knife. I think you'll like this, because he knows that I'm a button lock, flipper tab kind of guy. So this stuck out to me because of that fidget factor. So I think that's an apt reason to say that this is recommended to purchase.
So Herc, we're not gonna bury it? No 21 flipper salute?
I'm not burying mine unless you want to bury yours.
Now, you know what? With the fun factor of a larger knife, with the fidgety loveliness of it, even though it's lacking some opening, in my opinion.
Yeah.
For under $100, with the steel that's really well done, with a knife that's tooled well, that has surprisingly comfortable, I'd say go pick one up if you haven't. KIZER hit a home run with this. They should do more work with Azomai, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is a home run for me as well. I love it. Love fidgeting with it. Love using it. It's just comfortable and fun to use. I absolutely would second your recommendation to purchase one of these if you haven't.
Fantastic. Why don't you read the first part of our disclaimer tonight, bud?
Yeah, absolutely. As with everything, we recommend this knife, but always be mindful of your local knife laws and regulations. Support organizations that advocate for our rights.
Amen. Well said, buddy.
Hey, I try.
Man. Well, as always, our fantastic EDC family, thanks for putting up with our craziness. And remember, you can follow us on all social media sites by just typing in Carrier Berry, all one word. We always love to see what's in your pocket, or what's in your shopping cart, or what you'd like to see in your pocket very soon, or just yell at us and tell us what we got wrong. Honestly, we're cool with it now. Awesome. Remember, all EDC gear is loved by us, not just knives, okay? Don't forget to carry us with you by clicking subscribe, turning on those notifications. It also helps if you really spidey flick. Oh, it doesn't work for this one. Flip that like button if you want more content like this. And with your help, we can be the most prepared family on YouTube and beyond. The one and only
EDC family.
EDC family. Can I get an amen now?
Amen.
Why don't you log us out there, Herc?
All right, until next time, EDC family, keep those blades sharp, flashlights charged. If you're anything like me or your friend Profit here, keep those Band-Aids close. Remember, you are the best and sharpest tool in your EDC loadout. God bless you guys, and we'll see you next time.
We love you, EDC family. See you next time.